Thank you. Thank you, Boudewijn. Thank you all for being here. It's a great pleasure and it's special times. And also for me, I've been busy, let's say my whole career on work and how work is part of our lives. And these are special times. So I want to explain a little bit about my ideas, but also about the past and give you some background on the work that I've been doing and what I've seen passing by. My fascination for work started when I was about 10 years old and going to bed every night, imagining myself flying above the earth and thinking about why we were so busy with things that, according to me, didn't really matter. So why did we work? Why did we have to go to school? Why did we travel so much? Like all these busy bees doing a lot of stuff without any sense. But of course, I forgot about that. And I fit into the life that most of us maybe had. I studied, I worked, raised a family. But then about, I think, 2 years ago, this little girl in me came back. And the reason was that I've worked my whole life in technology. And I've done a lot of technology transformations where it's about how people can work with technology and how it can transform work or how it can transform a company. And then a lot of publications and ideas started to come up like robots are going to steal my job. And my first thought was, well, I'm fine. Let them steal my job. I'm fascinated about research that is done yearly by Gallup that says already in the past 15 years, year after year, that 80% of the people in a regular job would do something different when they would keep an income to pay their mortgage and pay their food. 80% of people. That's a lot of potential. So then it changed for me and I had to go back to why is it that I'm so fascinated about work. And let me tell you about a little bit about the history of work, or at least what I've read or I've seen. Already in the 19th century, philosophers, politicians, writers were telling us people that we should not work for more than 3 hours a day. That it's important to have a work-life balance, how we call it these days, and that it's important to develop yourself in culture or in relation to others. Also, Henry Ford, a couple of decades later, was very, very passionate about people working less. His reason was more that people would go out on the street and use his cars. But he also tried with his developments to make sure that a lot of families could share the work and could live from it. And actually, in the 80s of the past century, we started to work more and more. And the reason is because of the internet. The internet came and there was this book as well, like The World is Becoming Flat. So it's about globalization, it's about communication. And actually, first we were proud of it, but we could work any place, anytime, anywhere. And if you look at the figures, we started to work more hours, there was more pressure. And for example, in a family, more people started to work, both of them. So the pressure of work in relation to your work-life balance increased a lot. And also the part of so let me go back. So the technology development itself is not new. I hear that all the time. They say, okay, yeah, now robots are taking our jobs. But in the past, of course, we created machines that could do our physical work. There's one difference. Currently with data and AI, we're transforming our inner selves. So we're transforming our brains and even our emotions and our feelings. So we have to think about what we as human beings and as our potential want to be in combination of technology. And these past 2.5 weeks have been one big experiment for me. I'm luckily in the position that I have to work very hard because of course the technology is asking a lot. So working day and night with the technology. But what I face is that technology is driving me instead of the other way around. So being in calls like this or being behind my laptop all day is something that really is not fostering, let's say, my potential. And I miss the conversations that I have. We are very productive. We get a lot of things done. There's a lot of creation, but it's very isolated. So it's my creativity that I bring to the table. And of course, I find some people to help me. But it's a strange period of time. And again, it shows me that this technology is taking over. At the same time, we see the real value of labor. And we see that in hospitals, we need a lot of labor. The people that work in the supermarkets, they make sure that we can keep buying our food. People that try to keep the streets clean, for at least if we go out. So a lot of labor now is being seen as the added value. But we have never paid, or we have never looked at it from the value that certain jobs give to us as a society. So first of all, I hope that one small thing after this is that we start to think about payment for added value instead of people that coming up to the corporate ladder and earn more because of the years they're there or because the people they know. But what keeps me busy, most of all, this whole crisis, and what I want to share with you is how would this time have looked at, or how would have been the situation when we all would have had a universal basic income? Because much of the fear that we currently have is, besides the fact that we want to stay healthy, we don't want to lose the people that we love, is our jobs, our income, and to make sure that we survive. And Tay has also told us that I think we should not be too afraid, but it's the main reason that a lot of things are happening and a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress is happening. And a universal basic income is something that has been an idea already for almost 100 years old. But I think now is a time that we can start to think about it even more. And let me explain that a universal basic income for me is not the way that now our government is telling us that they will support us, because that's based on poverty. It's based on making sure that we can survive. I want a basic income for everyone. So from a vice president to a teacher, from someone who is in a fixed contract to someone who is working flexible, the same income for everyone. And throughout, let's say, the whole country. And the reason that we have the opportunity to do that is technology. Because if you look at companies nowadays and the real value that they have, it shifted from being labor and being capital to information and data. Technology, if you see it, it's not something that is being taxed for companies. Labor is. So how come that now that all the real value for companies changed so much, but we as human beings and as human potential are being taxed? So we're expensive. And then on the other hand, technology is something that can be a cost for companies, so can be deducted. There are two things that are important in the development of technology. Data, the data we have, is ours. So we as citizens own all the data that all the companies that making so much money for their shareholders right now, it's ours. So it should be ours, and it should stay with us. And we should be able to decide how to give our data away and earn money from it, maybe. An example for that I have is like with the supermarket, we now scan all the products ourselves, which seems very handy, and sometimes I'm also very happy with it. But for the supermarket, they earn much more money because they can fire maybe some people. But at the same time, for me, maybe it doesn't work, or they have to think about the fact that they have a role in society to play for some people that only go out once a day and they go to the supermarket. So it's this balance between data, which is mine, and how I can contribute to that. The other thing is that a lot of the technology like Wi-Fi or 5G right now is developed by governments or by universities or institutes that are paid by our taxes, and then being run by bigger companies or even smaller companies, and they earn a lot of money from it. With that abundance and with that possibility, it's very, very easy if we make some small changes to change the way that we as human beings can use our potential in a different way and give ourselves a universal basic income to keep away the fear and to make sure that we start to work from our potential. Because it's not the case that if we all have this basic income that we stop doing things. We see that as well right now. People are active, even if they don't have something to do and they don't earn from it, they're very willing to help each other. And all researchers has always shown that we're not going to sit on the couch and just watch Netflix all day if we have this universal basic income. No, we start to be creative. We start to connect to people and we start to do things that really value and that others value as well. So in any case, you can make sure that you get paid for it. So my real big dream is to come out of this crisis and at least have a real fair discussion, not about making people survive this time and then go back to work and go back to the old rhythms and go back to the old systems that seem not to work anymore, but really think about how we want to live our lives and how work is contributing to our value, but not so much adding the fear of losing it. And I think, something that I want to give to you are 3 ideas that you can do for yourself or for your organization. So one is as an individual. Start to look at this time as well in how you want to use your own potential and how technology can be part of your life, but should not overtake your life. Especially now, maybe you work a lot and you think that you can put the day that you had maybe in your office at home, it's not working. Think about what you want to do with this time and how you can make sure in other ways you can be productive, but also in your daily life. I bought myself this robot vacuum cleaner that's saving me a lot of time. But then I forced myself to think about what I do with that spare time, because otherwise it just fades away. It's handy that I have it, and it saves me a lot of time and work. But I want to add it with the value that I have. So in this case, to write a lot more and to listen a lot more to music. The second thing is for organizations, if you're in an organization. As Boudewijn said at the beginning, my plea is about making the HR director and the IT director the strategists of your company. Currently, in this situation, there are 2 main functions that make sure that organizations keep existing. One is IT, to make sure that we keep working and we can work from home and we can stay connected and we can keep working with the same data or for our customers. And the other is HR, to either make sure that the people that you want to keep and you need to keep for you to care for them and to make sure that they feel trusted. Unfortunately, in some cases, we have some bad examples as well that people get fired immediately. But those 2 parts of the company are really now driving the success of the company. It's not the CFO, it's not the CEO, it's the HR and IT. And I see that actually in most of the customers that we work with currently. So make sure that when you come back, you start a discussion in your organization on what have we learned so far, and not going back to the old way, but what can we have been doing by computers and what is the added value of our people, the creativity that they've shown in this time? Or do we go back to the fact that every morning we open our laptop and at the end of the day, we're happy and satisfied if our email inbox is empty and we have responded quickly enough? And the last part, which I find the most challenging, but also I think which the most impact is as a society. Can we make sure that we change our economic system and start to have bigger companies pay taxes for their real assets in their company, which is on data and on information, and not anymore on human capital, or have them make sure that they have all the shareholders. that's where the future is going. And I think as a society, and especially in the Netherlands, we can change that and make sure that we can give everyone the abundance that we have, because I feel it's scary at this time that so much is about losing what we had, where I think we can advance each other to what we want to have and how we want to live and how we want to leave this world to the next generations. So it's an exciting time. This little girl in me from, let's say, 40 years ago is very passionate, because I think if there is a time that the future of work is not about work, it's right now. Thank you so much.